Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. So, not too long ago, I recently reviewed a RPC Studio suit, and I wanted to do some things to it. For people who didn't watch that video, it's an RPC paint suit. It's based off of the Venom design from Spider-Man 3, the Raimi films. I'm sure you guys remember Venom from those movies. It's pretty much a cosplay of that, but without the mouth and all the crazy Venom stuff. The thing runs for about $700 online, and that's before you add any souls and face shells or whatever you want to add to it. That's just the base price. So when I say that taking a bottle of puff paint to the suit was a risk, I'm not joking. But I wanted to achieve that spectacular Spider-Man Stage 2 style suit. I've talked about this a lot in recent videos, but here's what the suit looks like again, just in case you guys don't know what it looks like. For the series I'm working on, I obviously need 3 symbiote suits because the suit changes 2 times in the show. So you have the base suit, which is pretty much just the Spider-Man 3 black suit. Then you have the Stage 2, which is what we're working on in this video. And then Stage 3, which is the very classic, no webbing, just the big logos, big eyes, very Secret Wars Spider-Man. Talking about the ideas, don't get them done. So let's get started, shall we?
We didn't hurt Uncle Ben. The world took him away from us. The world takes everything we love. There's no one you can trust, Peter Parker. No one except us. I can't never let go. Use the club. If you hit a lick, can't run it back. Okay, shorty, I can't trust no bitch. How you do?
First thing, of course, was grabbing the paint itself. Again, this is Tulip Metallic Gray, or I'm sorry, Metallic Silver. I don't think they make a gray, but you get the gist. I grabbed 3 bottles at the store, but you probably can get away with only getting 2. I think that's all I used for the entire process, but it was better to have more than to run out and have to go back out for some. So a cool thing about this suit is that the webbing pattern is kind of already printed on it. So the Venom design in Spider-Man 3 had the kind of goopy webbing style to it. So I used that as a base for the actual silver webbing that was supposed to be more rigid, and it came out great. It'd been quite a while since I had puff painted any lines, so I made sure to start down on the boots, which is one of the least looked at things on a Spider-Man costume. Most people gravitate towards here and here when it comes to looking at Spidey, so I figured if the webs are a little messed up, it'll be all right. Luckily, I'm pretty happy with the product. Of course, I could have been a little better. You can always improve. But for my first time back in a while, I was pretty impressed with how it came out. I'm also a fan of the webs looking a little bit slimy and not 100% solid, especially on the Stage 2 version where I feel like this is the most visible overtaking of the Spider-Man costume, where it's halfway in between being a classic suit and being that fully symbiote, just black costume. I really like those details. So I kind of did that with the webbing. I kind of made sure that when I was painting it on there to make sure that they weren't completely straight lines, but close. It's just an absolutely awesome design that I can't get enough of. Shout out to Sean, or Cheeks Galloway. That's what everybody calls him, I guess, because of his cheeks. Fun fact, he is the one who has a mole on his cheek, which is why Peter has a mole in the show. Very cool. I thought that was a neat little piece of trivia. He was the one who did all of the character designs for the show and everything else, so this show really wouldn't be as iconic as it is without him playing around with his little pencil. Once you finish the boots and you let them dry, go ahead and start on the next portion of the costume. I personally chose the mask. I was confident enough to just go ahead and start it. It needed to be done at some point anyway. The thing with puff painting is taking a very slow pace. I could gladly make a video on how to puff paint web lines in the future. I have a couple different techniques that help with not necessarily speeding up the process, but preventing slip-ups and preventing bubbles and all of that stuff. So if that would be helpful, let me know. So once I had finished the front half of the mask, I also had one of the arms on a mannequin hand. So I went ahead and started painting the webs on there as well. And again, with the web design on the pattern, it was really easy to tell where to stop the webbing since it was already kind of sectioned off. Side note, this suit particularly has an attached mask. And as you can see, normally I go for the detached mask option. It just feels much more Spider-Man to me, as I've explained in previous videos. But for symbiote suits, I kind of make an exception. Obviously, it's kind of an alien costume, so I think it looks better when it's all one sleek piece. I think that's how it's intended to look in the comic books, so I'm not necessarily upset that this is an attached mask. Once you have finished all of the base webbing on both gloves, both boots, and the mask, I went ahead and moved on to making the lenses. There's quite a few steps here that I went about making my lenses, but really there's only 3 of them to make really, really simple Spidey lenses. And this is another video that I would be willing to go into in the future, but just a little quick kind of overview on how I made these. Draw and cut out the shape of Spidey's lens that you want it to be, just out of normal paper. And you only have to draw one. Don't worry about like getting them symmetrical. You can just flip the piece of paper. Once you've got your shape, get some PC fan mesh. If you don't have any, there's plenty of different options on Amazon or maybe a computer store nearby. Definitely check that out because I'm sure it would be cheaper locally. You're gonna trace that piece of paper that you cut out with a Sharpie and then very simply cut the PC mesh out as well. If you can't find white mesh, you can obviously just get some white spray paint. Just keep a far enough distance from it if you're ever going to paint your mesh that you don't fill in the holes, because then you're not gonna be able to see. That's really all you need to do to make some simple Spidey lenses, but I had some 3D printed frames from that guy. I had a couple extra sets of lenses for the mask, so I went ahead and put them on top of it. They were perfect borders and they sat on the mask and on the undershell perfectly. I'm very happy with it. I originally traced the lens frames anyway on the piece of paper. If you like this border idea, you could also do this with craft foam. That was my original idea, and then I just decided to use the 3D printed part so it has a bit more structure to it. But it's the same process. You just trace the cutout that you've got, cut it out, and then you'll want to cut out a middle portion so you can still see through it, and then glue that to the inside of your lens. The problem that I ran into once I used that 3D printed part was because it was so thick, you could very obviously see like the border through the mesh. In the show, it's very like one color, one like piece. You can't see the lens borders underneath of it. So I wanted to make sure to fix that. The easiest and simplest way I found to do that was just by doubling the mesh. I just did the same process twice with the PC mesh, traced it, cut it out, glued that mesh onto the other layer of mesh, and then glued that onto the 3D printed part. And it worked out perfectly. The visibility is still incredible, no real challenges looking through that. Obviously, if you're like looking at the sun or bright lights, it's gonna be hard no matter what because you're looking through something that's white. Also, once like 2 layers of mesh are layered on top of each other, sometimes they do this like really weird optical illusion that I just tend to like. It looks really cool on camera. So once my lenses were pretty much completed, I went ahead and went back through with some white puff paint on the borders of the lens, just to make it again look like it was kind of all one fluid piece. It didn't just look like mesh glued onto something. It looked like the mesh was coming out of something. That was the intended goal. Once they were completely finished, I double checked the placement obviously with some tape, and then glued them onto the mask. The most nerve-wracking part about doing this suit at all was not the lenses, no, not doing veins, which we'll get to, no, but the chest area itself. I looked at the show in different pictures so many times to make sure that I didn't bring the webbing too high or too far out onto the shoulders. I didn't want the shaping of it to look off because I feel like that is the most iconic part of the suit, is that his head kind of just looks like an action figure. So once I had done the chest area and I made sure the webbing stopped where it needed to, it didn't touch the logo, but just close enough. It went just far enough out on my shoulders. I thought it was great, and honestly, I thought the suit was good to go. I'm not sure if you guys have seen the video, but recently I put out something talking about a specific detail in the Spectacular Spider-Man. It's not necessarily the same thing as just the webbing disappearing. There are definitely veins on the suit as well. They're all kind of leading up towards the logo, and I definitely wanted to make that a part of the suit. There is no way I was leaving that out. I want 100% accuracy. That's what, I want these suits to be about. Episode 1 had a super accurate suit. Episode 3 should have super accurate suits. Episode 2 was just like my little love child, okay? Episode 2, let it be. I own the entire series on DVD and digitally, so I went back just to double check, triple check myself that it is there, and it most definitely is. I got a bunch of reference pictures, and I just made sure that the vein placement wasn't too much, but it was just enough. So when it came to these veins, I just took it really slow and I didn't want to do too much. I could always add some more later if I really wanted to, but I wanted to keep it light to start. I did put them everywhere. Pretty much every end of the webbing was a vein, but they varied in sizes. Some of them are a lot smaller, some of them are way longer than others, but I wanted that variety and I just wanted it to look like natural but unnatural at the same time. I'd say I achieved that pretty well. I mean, at least I think it looks pretty good. It looks accurate to the show, and I am a big supporter of that show. So if I got it wrong, I don't think I would be okay with it. You know what I mean? Having the webs already printed on the pattern made things a lot easier, and then that brick pattern on the suit is like 1-to-1 match with my classic Spectacular Spider-Man suit. So it all kind of just comes together full circle, and that's what the episode is supposed to be about anyway. The logos are already silver, so it just kind of made sense that the webbing would match. For my stage 1 and my stage 3 suit, I'm still undecided what I'm gonna do, but I wanted this one to be all the same and kind of flow with the costume. I think if the webbing was white, it would have kind of been a little jarring to look at because the logo would have been darker than everything else. Stage 1 is most likely going to be like a metallic black webbing, and then like probably silver logos on that one as well. Again, like I said, I'm undecided, but I've got a few different ideas for those. But I will show you those when the time comes. This was definitely a nerve-wracking process. Let me know what you guys think of the suit. I am super happy of how it turned out. And let me know if you're ever going to try doing stuff like this to your own suits. I'd be happy to hear about it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.